In the quiet black between galaxies, stars shimmered like tiny eyes watching an old story unfold. Around a dying red dwarf, hundreds of alien warships floated, each one a symbol of pride, strength, and arrogance. Their metallic hulls glimmered with the lights of celebration. Hollow banners rippled across space, showing the insignias of countless empires, reptilian, crystalline, insectoid, machine-born, all gathered for one reason: to laugh. At the center of it all was a massive orbital platform, shaped like a ring carved from obsidian and gold. Inside it, the Galactic Council sat, drinking luminous wine, trading jokes in a dozen tongues. A giant screen filled the chamber, showing a blue planet turning slowly under sunlight. Earth. "Behold the primitives," barked an alien, with eyes like molten glass. His voice rattled the hall. "They still burn forest to stay warm." A chorus of laughter followed. "They build weapons that explode with fire and smoke," sneered another, her insect wings fluttering in amusement. "And they call them powerful. They—" "Squabble like hatchlings," added a third, a massive being with silver tusks. "No unity, no order. They war against themselves and think they are mighty." Laughter rolled through the chamber like thunder. Every empire joined in, the sound rising, echoing off the metal walls. Only one figure did not laugh. In the shadows, near the back, an elder being with eyes as pale as frost watched silently. His long fingers tapped against the table. When the laughter died down, his voice came, low, patient, and sharp as a blade. "You mock them because you do not understand them." The others turned. "Understand what?" sneered the tusked general. "They are a young, violent race crawling in the mud of a single world." "Yes," the elder replied, "but they are also the only species that has survived every war it ever started, every extinction, every catastrophe. They lose cities, continents, worlds, and still they rise again." A quiet murmur rippled through the council. Some shifted uncomfortably, others waved his words away. The molten-eyed one chuckled darkly. "You speak of rats. They breed quickly. That does not make them dangerous." The elder's eyes gleamed. "No, it makes them relentless." The room grew cold. Then the laughter returned, louder, harder, like they were trying to bury the unease that had crawled into their hearts. "Enough of this gloom," barked the chairperson. "Tomorrow, our fleets will descend upon their system. We shall burn their stations, crush their moons, and enslave their kind. The Sol system will serve the Council, and the humans will finally know their place." Glasses raised, voices roared. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread, a declaration of conquest. Billions of beings watched from distant worlds, cheering as the mightiest armada ever assembled, prepared to crush the small blue planet. In the silence beyond their laughter, deep in the Kuiper belt, something stirred. Far from the sun's warm light, a single shadow moved through the dark. Its surface was smooth, angular, carved from black alloy. No flags, no markings, only a name carved near the hull in silver letters. The Resolute. Inside, red emergency lights pulsed across silent corridors. A woman stood before a glass screen, staring out into the void. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. Commander Rhea Koran, the youngest fleet commander in human history, the last defender of Earth. Behind her, officers worked in silence. The ship's systems hummed, old, powerful, hungry. Every console whispered warnings, but no one spoke. The crew knew what was coming. "They're moving," said Lieutenant Jane softly, his hands hovering above the sensors. "Fleet signatures entering Neptune's orbit. Thousands, maybe more." Rhea didn't blink. "Good. Let them come." Another officer looked up from her station. "Commander, the Galactic Council's signal just reached us. They're broadcasting to every known world." "Put it through," Rhea said. The bridge darkened. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the alien council's chamber, full of laughter and glowing eyes. A voice echoed through the speakers, dripping with arrogance. "To the humans of Earth, you have been judged unworthy. You have no place in the stars. Prepare your surrender." The laughter followed again, cruel, confident. Rhea stared at the image. Her jaw tightened. She spoke, her voice steady, cutting through the noise like steel. "This is Commander Rhea Koran, of the United Earth Defense Fleet. You call us primitive, you call us weak, but tomorrow you will learn that humanity's laughter sounds very different. The signal cut. Silence fell. Her crew looked at her, some afraid, some proud. She turned back to the stars, watching. Faint glimmers of light appear in the distance, the alien armada spreading across space like a swarm. For a long moment no one moved. Then Rhea spoke again, her voice calm, almost gentle. Power up the core. The deck vibrated softly. Deep within the ship, hidden machinery awoke. Massive gears turning, energy rising. Blue veins of light crawled across the hull, flickering like lightning trapped in metal. Outside, the darkness shifted. The stars seemed to dim, bending slightly around the warship's form. A whisper passed through the crew. The ship wasn't just a weapon, it was something else, something the galaxy had never seen. As the alien fleets approached, still laughing, still proud, Rhea stood at the heart of her ship, silent, waiting. In the endless night their laughter echoed, but soon the stars themselves would fall silent. The alien armadas swept across the edge of the solar system like a wave of fireflies blotting out the stars. Thousands of ships, some longer than cities, others built like living creatures with beating wings of plasma, moved in perfect formation. Their navigation lights glimmered red, yellow, and green, like a carnival of war. Every few seconds new transmissions flashed across the void. Alien broadcasters filled the networks with jokes, betting games, and bold promises. "How long will the humans last?" one asked, laughing. "A minute? An hour?" Another responded, "They'll kneel before our guns before their sun completes a spin." Their laughter traveled faster than light, echoing across the galaxy. Billions tuned in, eager to witness the fall of another upstart species. On dozens of worlds, creatures gathered in plazas, watching giant screens display the alien armada approaching Earth's outer rim. They waited for the punchline, another doomed race destroyed in seconds. But on one small blue planet, the air was heavy with silence. Across Earth's cities, people gathered under grey skies. The streets were filled, but no one spoke. Giant displays showed static images, maps of the solar system marked with red dots. Every dot was an enemy. News anchors whispered updates, voices trembling. Governments had fallen quiet. Military channels carried no orders, no defense fleets, no help. The stars above looked peaceful, but everyone knew peace was a lie. In a bunker beneath the Pacific, a single transmission blinked green. The last signal Earth could send before the alien jammers closed in. Inside the bunker, the President of Earth sat before the camera. Her face was pale, but her eyes were steady. "To Commander Rhea Corrin, aboard the Resolute." Her voice cracked, then steadied again. "You know what must be done. We have no other line of defense. If they cross Mars, unleash the storm. May God forgive us." The message repeated once, then faded into silence. The last transmission Earth would send. Far beyond Neptune, aboard the Resolute, Rhea listened without a word. The bridge was dim, lit by the pulsing blue veins that ran through the ship's walls. Around her, her crew watched the same message, their faces grim. Lieutenant Jane swallowed hard. "Commander, they want us to use it." Rhea nodded slowly. "They left us no choice." Another voice came from the weapons station. "Commander, the alien fleets have entered Mars's orbit. They're scanning for resistance. Show me." The main display lit up, showing a storm of red lights swirling past Mars. Alien dreadnoughts, carriers, cruisers, all moving in formation. And at the front, the command flagship, Van Kal's Pride, carrying the admiral who had promised to enslave humanity before sunset. Rhea stood, her boots clicking softly against the metal floor. "They think we're hiding, they think we're afraid." Jane looked at her. "Aren't we?" She turned her gaze on him, calm, steady, unflinching. "Fear is what kept us alive, but it's not what will save us now." Outside, the Resolute drifted silently through the void, powered down, invisible against the darkness. Its sensors tracked every ship, every signal, every breath of the enemy. Then, across open channels, the aliens began to speak again. Mocking voices, arrogant and cruel, filled the bridge. "Humans, we see you. One ship. Is this surrender?" Laughter followed. "Or perhaps you believe we'll spare you for the comedy." Another voice, colder and sharper. "Transmit your coordinates, little primates. We will end your suffering quickly." The crew shifted uneasily. Some clenched their fists, others lowered their eyes. Rhea listened, silent. Then she walked to the center of the bridge and placed her hand on the command console. "Power up the core," she said softly. "Ma'am," Jane whispered, "once it's active, there's no going back." "I know." Deep within the ship's heart, ancient machinery awakened. The hum grew louder, deeper, vibrating through the walls like the heartbeat of a giant. The blue veins on the hull brightened, spreading outward until the entire ship glowed like a rising star. Every alien sensor within 100,000 kilometers went wild. Warnings blared across their bridges. Unknown energy spikes. Impossible readings. "Identify that source," shouted Admiral Von. The alien armada scattered like startled birds across the emptiness near Mars. For the first time since their invasion began, their formations broke. Commanders shouted orders, but fear spread faster than discipline. Hundreds of voices screamed through comms in a dozen alien tongues, each trying to make sense of what had just happened. One moment, the human ship had been there, visible, tiny, fragile. The next, it had vanished. No warp signature, no trace, nothing the scanners could read. And then the impossible. Von Kal's pride, a dreadnought that had survived 3 galactic wars, was gone. No debris, no escape pods, just a ripple of energy and silence. In the flagship's absence, the rest of the fleet hesitated. They searched for answers. They found only questions. "What did they use?" shouted one commander. "Quantum weapon? Spatial rift?" "Negative," came the reply. "The readings don't match anything. The laws of physics didn't apply." Far away, the Resolute reappeared, a faint shimmer against the stars. It drifted silently, hull glowing faint blue like a ghost wrapped in lightning. Inside, Commander Rhea Corran stood at the center of her bridge, staring at the empty space where the flagship had once been. Her crew was silent. No one celebrated. They all understood what had just happened. They had unleashed something that should never have existed. Lieutenant Jane broke the silence. "Confirmed kill. Von Kal's pride destroyed. No survivors." Rhea didn't respond at first. She stared at the tactical screen, watching the chaos unfold. The enemy fleet was in disarray, their ranks scattering. "They'll regroup," she said quietly. "They always do." Another officer, voice trembling, whispered, "Commander, that shot, it wasn't just power. It bent reality. That shouldn't be possible." Rhea's eyes stayed on the stars. "It isn't," she said softly. "Not for them." Deep in the ship's core, behind sealed titanium bulkheads, a living pulse throbbed inside a chamber of blue light, the chrono core. It was not built by science alone, but born from desperation and secrets. It twisted the laws of time and matter, harnessing forces no one fully understood. It had taken a century of fear, 20 nations, and one forbidden theory to create. And now the galaxy knew its name. Across the enemy fleet, fear turned to fury. The aliens had not come to fight, they had come to humiliate. But now they felt the sting of humiliation themselves. Thousands of ships turned their guns toward the human warship. In his command throne aboard the nearest cruiser, General Vecthos slammed his fist into the console. "One ship, one primitive ship dares strike us." His voice roared through the fleet channels. "Form ranks. Surround it. I want that vessel torn apart." Dozens of fleets moved to obey. Formations tightened, ships shifting into concentric rings. The void lit up as targeting systems locked onto the Resolute. Inside the human ship, warning alarms screamed. "Multiple locks, sector 45 through 90. Jane's voice cracked. "Commander, they're surrounding us." Rhea's tone remained calm. "Let them." Her crew stared at her, disbelief etched into every face. She turned toward her tactical officer. "Deploy mirrors. Phantom 9. The officer's hands moved quickly across the console. Outside, the Resolute's hull rippled as a swarm of dark drones detached and spread outward. They shimmered, folding light around themselves, forming a circle around the warship. Moments later, the first wave of alien plasma struck. Brilliant lances of green and gold fire slammed into the formation, but instead of exploding, The blasts bent, curved, and scattered. The mirrors redirected the energy into the void, harmlessly dispersing it. The alien fleets fired again and again. The space around Mars filled with storms of energy, but none touched the human ship. It stood motionless, surrounded by swirling light and smoke, untouched amid the chaos. On the bridge of the Resolute, Rhea gave no sign of victory. Her hands gripped the railing, eyes distant. "They don't understand," she murmured. "They're still fighting the old wars." "Commander?" She looked at her crew, faces young, frightened, loyal. "They think we built this ship to fight them. We didn't. We built it because we knew someday someone would come to finish us," Jane whispered. "And now they have." Rhea nodded slowly. "And now we finish what they started." She turned to the weapons console. "Prepare Phase 2. The officer hesitated. "Commander, Phase 2 means—" "Yes," Rhea said quietly. "It means they'll finally see what humanity became." The ship began to shift. Plates along the hull unfolded, revealing hidden layers of armor etched with glowing veins. The engines pulsed brighter, distorting the stars. Inside, the chronocore's heartbeat grew faster, louder, its rhythm echoing through the decks. On the alien scanners, the Resolute's signature exploded in power, spiking far beyond anything recorded. The readings made no sense. It wasn't just energy. It was time, gravity, and light twisting together, becoming something new. "Impossible," whispered Vecthos as his screens filled with static. "No species could—" He never finished. A blue arc flashed across the void. One alien cruiser vanished. Then another. Then 5 more, each erased in perfect silence. The fleet screamed. Ships broke formation. Some tried to flee. Others fired wildly. But every attempt failed. The human ship was faster, moving like a ghost between seconds. Inside the Resolute, Rhea watched the destruction unfold, her heart heavy. Each strike tore through the enemy, but also through her conscience. She whispered under her breath, "This is not power. This is survival." Outside, the stars flickered. The void trembled. And across the galaxy, eyes that once mocked humanity began to widen with fear. The warship that shouldn't exist had become a legend, and the laughter that had filled the stars was fading. Fast, the silence after destruction felt heavier than the explosions themselves. In the black sea of space near Mars, the alien fleets drifted in disarray. Wreckage floated like ash in a cosmic breeze, twisted hulls, shattered wings, fragments of once proud dreadnoughts spinning aimlessly. A few surviving ships fled into the darkness, their engines burning like terrified hearts. Inside the Resolute, only the hum of the core broke the stillness. The crew watched their screens, wide-eyed, stunned at what they had done. They had erased ships larger than cities, without a trace, without fire, without warning. Lieutenant Jane finally whispered, "How did we build this, Commander? How did we ever make something like this?" Rhea didn't answer right away. Her gaze was fixed on the drifting debris, on the echoes of battle that hung like ghosts around them. The blue glow from the core painted her face in cold light. "Because we had to," she said softly. Her voice trembled, not with fear but with memory. She turned, eyes distant as though seeing through the hull, through the stars into the past. "You weren't there during the First War, none of you were. The history books don't show what it was really like." The crew grew quiet, leaning closer as her voice dropped to a low, heavy rhythm. "When the first alien ship appeared over the moon, humanity didn't laugh. We didn't fight. We tried to speak, to reason, to welcome. They answered by burning the colonies and seeding the sky with ash." She paused, her jaw tightening. "We weren't ready. We had weapons, yes, but not unity. We fought them, and each other. Nations blamed one another. Millions died before we even agreed who the enemy was. By the time the invaders left, Earth was broken, and we knew they would come again." A deep hum echoed through the hull as though the ship itself remembered. "So we built the Resolute," Rhea continued. "Not as a weapon, as a promise that the next time someone came to finish us, humanity would be ready. Even if it meant crossing lines we swore we never would." Her eyes drifted toward the sealed chamber deep below the decks, the heart of their power. The chronocore was born from that promise. It bends reality. It turns seconds into centuries, light into knives. But it doesn't belong to us. We stole the idea from the void. A silence followed. No one dared speak. Finally, Jane asked, "The void?" Rhea nodded slowly. "During the First War, one of our ships vanished. They said it fell through a rift near Saturn. When it returned decades later, the crew was gone. Only a black crystal remained, pulsing with time's echo. Our scientists spent a lifetime studying it. What they built from it is buried inside this ship." The revelation hung in the air like smoke. "So that's what they're sensing," whispered the weapons officer. "It's not just energy, it's time itself." Rhea's eyes darkened. "Yes, we're fighting with something the galaxy was never meant to see." Outside, alarms began to pulse softly. The surviving alien fleets were regrouping beyond Mars's orbit. Reinforcements were arriving. Dozens of new fleets, each carrying hundreds of warships. The largest armada in recorded history was forming. One last wave to crush the human vessel. "Contact from the enemy," reported communications. "A new flagship." Rhea turned toward the screen. The image flickered to life, showing a towering figure of metal and bone. Admiral Xylar of the Gen Dominion, a being whose name carried legends of conquest. His voice was a metallic roar. "Human commander," he growled, "you wield power that defies the stars. You think it makes you gods. It makes you fools. You will surrender your weapon, or we will erase your species from existence." Rhea stared at him without blinking. "You came to erase us already. All we did was return the favor." Xylar's eyes blazed. "You are alone. We are infinity. Your ship will break, your people will fall, and your memory will fade like dust." The stars went quiet. Even space seemed to hold its breath. Across the void near Mars, the largest fleet in galactic history gathered. Ships stretched for millions of kilometers, sleek dreadnoughts, golden carriers, living leviathans with eyes that burned like suns. They formed a ring around the Resolute, their cannons pointed inward, ready to fire. The broadcasts resumed. Millions across the galaxy tuned in, waiting to watch humanity's final moment. Commentators whispered, "It was only luck before. This time the humans are surrounded. This time the joke ends." Inside the Resolute, the bridge was bathed in dim blue light. The chrono core throbbed beneath the decks, its pulse syncing with the heartbeat of every crew member. The ship's frame shivered, straining against the power rising within. Lieutenant Jane looked at Commander Rhea Karan, eyes wide. "We're surrounded, ma'am, every direction." Rhea's gaze didn't waver. "Good," she said quietly. "Then we don't have to aim." The words rippled through the crew, soft but fierce. No one spoke again. They knew what was coming. Alarms flared as enemy weapons charged. Beams of light gathered along alien hulls, energy enough to shatter moons. Warnings echoed across the bridge. Multiple locks, critical range, impact in 10 seconds. Jane's voice cracked. "Commander!" Rhea's hand hovered over the activation switch. "Engage the chrono core." Her fingers closed. The universe changed. Sound vanished. Light bent. The chrono core unleashed itself, spilling a wave of impossible power across the void. Time slowed to a crawl. The red flashes of enemy fire hung motionless, frozen mid-flight. The entire alien fleet became statues, locked in a single heartbeat between moments. Inside the Resolute, the crew gasped. Their breaths echoed strangely, heavy and slow. Blue light filled the air, shimmering like water. Rhea stepped forward, her movements fluid, graceful, untouched by the distortion. Her voice carried through the stillness, quiet but commanding. "For every city they burned, for every child they silenced, for every time they called us less." She pressed the final command. A pulse of white fire erupted from the ship's heart, expanding outward in perfect silence. It swept across the frozen armada, gentle, like the passing of wind, yet absolute in its destruction. Where the wave touched, ships vanished. Not exploded, not shattered, simply erased, as though they had never been. The pulse reached Mars, washing across its red surface, leaving the planet untouched, but clearing its orbit of every invader. It rippled outward, farther and farther, until the stars themselves shimmered. When time resumed, the void was empty. Every alien vessel, gone. Only dust and silence remained. The galaxy's greatest armada, erased in a single breath. The crew stared at their screens in disbelief. Some whispered prayers, others sat frozen, hands trembling. Jane's voice broke the silence. We did it. Rhea didn't smile. She stared out the viewport, eyes distant, watching the lingering glow fade from the darkness. No, she said quietly. We survived. Then a warning blared. Core instability detected. Energy spike critical. The blue veins along the hull flickered violently. The hum deepened into a roar. Lights died one by one. The core's collapsing, shouted the engineering officer. Containment is failing. Rhea turned sharply. Can we stabilize it? Negative. It's feeding on itself. We bought too much power. Time's folding inward. Jane's hands shook. If it breaches, Commander, it'll... I know, Rhea said. It'll take us with it. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Rhea straightened, her voice calm again. Prepare evacuation. All pods ready. No one answered. Not one officer moved. Commander, Jane said softly, if we leave, who guides the core? It needs a hand at the helm. Rhea looked around the bridge, at faces she had known for years, faces that had followed her into the abyss. They understood what she didn't have to say. Her throat tightened. You've done enough. All of you. Go. But no one left. The ship groaned, metal twisting under the stress of the collapsing core. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Rhea sighed softly, a sound more sorrow than fear. Then, we'll see this through together. She returned to the command chair and opened. A secure channel, one last transmission carried across every network in the galaxy. The feed flickered to life, showing her face surrounded by the blue glow. Billions watched, soldiers, civilians, leaders, all waiting. This is Commander Rhea Corran of the Resolute. Her voice was calm, strong, filled with quiet fire. To every empire that mocked us, to every world that laughed, remember this, humanity does not kneel. We endure, we adapt, and when the fire comes, we walk through it. She paused, eyes closing for a heartbeat. You wanted to see our end. So look closely. This is what it costs to survive. The transmission ended. The blue light brightened, swelling until it filled the ship. The hull shook violently, every deck groaning, every bolt screaming. Rhea's crew stood with her, eyes fixed on the stars. Brace for collapse, she whispered. Outside, the Resolute flared brighter than the sun, a sphere of pure energy blooming in silence. It expanded, then folded in on itself, gone in a heartbeat, leaving behind nothing but a fading ring of light. From Earth, people saw a new star rise in the sky, faint, steady, beautiful. They called it Rhea's light, and across the galaxy, the laughter that had once filled the stars died, replaced by awe and fear. Light faded. Silence followed. Where the Resolute once stood, only a soft shimmer remained, a faint distortion in space like a wound refusing to close. The galaxy watched the feed end, screens going dark one by one, leaving crowds staring at their reflections in the black glass. No one spoke. No one laughed. For the first time, the mighty empires, once so proud, so loud in their mockery, felt something they had never known before: fear. Across countless worlds, their fleets drifted in stunned formation. Commanders whispered into their comms asking for orders that never came. Their leaders, once roaring with arrogance, sat frozen in silent chambers, faces pale under the glow of their hollow screens. And back on Earth, beneath the deep hum of the orbital towers, billions stood together, faces lifted toward the heavens. The new star, Rhea's light, shone faintly above them. It didn't move, it didn't fade, it just burned, calm and steady like a promise. In the shadow of the United Earth Command Center, silence hung heavy. Rows of officers watched the final transmission again, Rhea's last words echoing through the room. Humanity does not kneel, we endure, we adapt, and when the fire comes, we walk through it. General Mbeki stood at the center, his jaw tight, eyes wet but steady. She did it, he murmured. God help us. She actually did it. Behind him, the analyst spoke in hushed tones. The alien fleets are retreating, sir. Every major power is pulling back to their borders. Any transmissions? None. They're not talking, sir. They're just leaving. Mbeki turned to the stars, his reflection flickering in the glass. "Good," he whispered. "Let them remember what we are." He turned back to his officers. "Begin reconstruction orders. Every nation, every colony, we rise again, under one banner." The command echoed through the room, and for the first time in a century, humanity moved as one. Beyond the reach of any empire, in the cold edges of known space, the distortion shimmered again. The fabric of reality rippled, faint like the surface of disturbed water. Inside that rift, time flowed differently. Rhea Corran gasped, her lungs burning. She opened her eyes key and saw only blue light. The bridge was gone. The crew gone. She floated weightless, surrounded by shifting fragments of memory, glimpses of her ship, flashes of faces, voices calling through static. "Commander," a whisper, soft, echoing. She turned toward it, heart pounding. "Who's there?" No answer. Only more whispers overlapping, voices of her crew, voices of those she thought lost. The light pulsed again, and the whispers merged into one sound, a deep hum, like the heartbeat of the universe. And then she saw it. Before her stretched a vast horizon, stars moving in reverse, nebulae folding into themselves, echoes of worlds being born and dying in silence. She wasn't dead. Not yet. The chronocore had collapsed inward, but instead of destruction, it had folded space around her, trapping her between moments in a pocket of fractured time. Her mind raced. If I'm alive, then maybe the others are too. She reached for her wrist console, flicked it on. Only static. No signals. No beacon. Just the endless hum. Rhea took a slow breath, forcing calm into her voice. "If this is what it takes," she whispered, "then I'll find a way out." The blue light brightened again, and as it did, she saw shapes forming in the distance. Silhouettes of ships, broken and drifting. Not human, not familiar. Ruins. Ancient ones. She frowned. "Where am I?" The hum deepened, like a voice trying to speak through the silence. Her console flickered again, displaying a single cryptic line. Chrono coordinates unknown. Era, pre-ascension. Her eyes widened. Pre-ascension. Before any known civilization, before the galactic empires, before even humanity's first stars. The realization hit her like a blow. The core didn't just bend time, it threw me back through it. She stared into the distance, at the ancient wreckage, at the light of newborn suns. Somewhere deep in her chest, fear twisted into something else. Resolve. "If this is the beginning," she whispered, "then maybe this is where we start again." Back in the present, the galaxy was shifting. On the homeworlds of the great powers, the distortion in space rippled again. Rhea floated weightless, staring at the endless horizon of fractured time. The blue glow had dimmed now, pulsing softly like a fading heartbeat. Around her, shards of broken reality drifted, fragments of the Resolute, faces of her crew, echoes of their final stand. But something had changed. In the far distance, a light flickered and faint, rhythmic, deliberate. Not random. A signal, her eyes narrowed. "Someone's alive!" She pushed off a floating panel, guiding herself through the shimmering void. Her wrist console sparked faintly, trying to read the distortions. But it couldn't map what didn't exist. The flicker grew brighter as she approached. Pulsing in sequences, 3 flashes, pause, 2 flashes, pause, 1. A code, a human code. Her heart jumped. "Lieutenant Jane," she whispered. "You clever fool." The light expanded and suddenly she was there, before the broken silhouette of a warship fragment. On its surface, faint letters glowed through the cracks. Resolute, Iux, Bay 3. Her breath caught. Inside, through a gash in the hull, she saw a figure moving. A suit of armor, human, drifting amid sparks and debris. She entered carefully, boots magnetizing to the deck. "This is Commander Rhea Corran," she called. "Identify." The helmet turned. A voice cracked through static. "Commander, I thought we were dead." Rhea's chest tightened. "Jane." He drifted closer, his visor cracked, eyes wide. We didn't all make it. The court tore us apart. Time broke." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "We're not done yet." He shook his head. Ma'am, look around. We're not in our time anymore. This is before everything. Before the empires. Before us, I know. She looked out a shattered viewport. In the distance, ancient worlds glowed faintly, cradled in nebulae untouched by war. Maybe that's why we're here, Jane frowned. To what? Watch the universe start over? Rhea's voice steadied. No, to remember what was lost. To make sure it never happens again. The hull creaked around them. The distortion pulsed brighter, warning them, reminding them the pocket was unstable. Jane glanced at his console. Ma'am, the rift's collapsing. We don't have long? Rhea turned toward the light. Then we leave something behind. Behind. She opened a panel, revealing the remains of the ship's data core. Sparks danced weakly. All our history. The wars, the unity, the fight. If we can't go home, we'll make sure the stars remember who we were. Together. They worked in silence, uploading what fragments remained. Humanity's story. From Earth's first flight to the Resolute's last stand. The console flickered, then glowed steady. Jane's voice trembled. Commander, it's done. Rhea stepped back. Transmit it, deep, beyond this time. Let the cosmos carry it, he hesitated. If we send it, it might echo. Through eras. Someone could find it. That's the point, she said softly. One day, when they look up at the stars, they'll know we were here. Jane nodded. Transmission ready. Rhea placed her hand on the console. Then send it. A beam of white light shot upward, tearing through the distortion. It climbed into the endless dark, spreading outward, multiplying into countless reflections, like ripples across a cosmic sea. Each wave carried their message, a record of courage, of loss of humanity. The distortion roared. The deck split beneath them. Blue light flooded in. Jane stumbled. Commander! Rhea grabbed his arm, pulling him close. Hold on. The world shattered. Across time, the echo spread. Centuries later, in the ruins of a forgotten world, explorers uncovered a sphere of ancient metal. Its surface shimmered with faint light, still humming softly. They opened it carefully, and a voice spoke. Clear, calm, resolute. This is Commander Rhea Corran of the Resolute. To those who find this, we are humanity. We endure, we adapt. And when the fire comes, we walk through it. The explorers froze, listening. Around them, holograms unfolded. Visions of a blue world called Earth, of people rising together, of a single ship standing against 1,000. They watched the story unfold, not as myth, but as truth. And when it ended, they stood in silence, awed by what they had seen. One whispered, they were just like us. Another, no, they were the reason we are. Word spread across their worlds, Marv, the humans, the lost ones, the firewalkers. And soon in every sky, beacons lit, symbols of remembrance, shaped like the Resolute star. They called it the Light of Rhea. And in time, when new fleets sailed between galaxies, they carried the human emblem, not as conquerors but as guardians. The phrase was written on every hull. In every tongue we endure. And somewhere beyond the reach of time, in the quiet between stars, a woman's voice whispered through the void. We are still here. A faint shimmer answered, 2 figures walking side by side, vanishing into the light. And so the laughter that once filled the galaxy became legend, replaced forever by reverence. Because in the end, they didn't just remember the Resolute, they remembered what it meant to be human. Millennia passed. Stars were born and died. Civilizations rose and fell like waves on a timeless sea. The echo of the Resolute's final transmission lingered, faint at first, then growing, threading through the fabric of space. For ages, it remained a mystery, a ghost signal, half myth, half memory. Yet those who heard it never forgot the voice. We endure. We adapt, and when the fire comes, we walk through it. Across the ages, new species studied the signal, decoding fragments of human history. They found traces of Earth, blueprints of cities, stories of courage, whispers of unity. But no one could find the humans themselves. Some said they were lost beyond time. Others believed they had become something greater. And then one day the stars stirred again. In a quiet sector beyond the Orion Rift, a ship drifted alone. Its hull bore the emblem of an ancient age, a star encircled by wings, faintly glowing with blue light. The vessel was old, weathered by centuries, yet its engines hummed with impossible energy. Inside, alarms flickered weakly. Life support systems whirred back to life. A single pod hissed open. Rhea Corran gasped, air filling her lungs. She sat up sharply, coughing, her vision swimming. The chamber lights glowed faintly. She blinked, confusion washing over her. "Where am I?" Her suit's console activated. Chronostasis complete. Revival successful, era unknown. Her heart pounded. Unknown? She stumbled to her feet, gripping the side of the pod. Through the viewport, stars stretched endlessly. Familiar, yet wrong. Constellations twisted, shifted older. The ship's AI voice crackled through static. "Welcome back, Commander Corran." She froze. "AI, you're still online?" Minimal function restored. Chrono displacement complete. Temporal drift approximately 7,000 years. She inhaled sharply. 7,000 years? "Yes, Commander. You have returned to the galaxy." Her breath trembled. 7 millennia. Civilizations would have risen, fallen, changed beyond recognition. Humanity, what remained of it, could be dust or divinity. Her console lit up again, faint signals blinking on the display. Not human. Not any species she knew, but strong, organized, listening, and one signal was different. It carried her own code, her eyes widened. "That's impossible." She magnified the signal. It was faint but steady, a beacon pulsing in rhythm. The same pattern her crew had transmitted into the void so long ago. 3 flashes. Pause. 2 flashes. Pause. 1. Her throat tightened. "Jane," she leaned over the console. "Lock onto that signal. Plot a course." "Affirmative, Commander." Trajectory set. The engines rumbled, and slow, old but loyal. The Resolute's fragment drifted forward, slicing through the quiet dark. As it moved, whispers filled the comm. Not static, not interference. Voices. The light of Rhea. The firewalkers return. "The first ones have awakened." Rhea froze. "Who's transmitting?" No response. Only the soft hum of ancient words spoken in reverence, not fear. She stared into the void, her heart heavy with disbelief. Entire civilizations, unknown to her, were whispering her name. The galaxy remembered. Hours later, her ship approached a world bathed in pale gold light. Orbiting above it were hundreds of vessels, sleek, elegant, each bearing the same symbol she wore on her sleeve, a single star surrounded by wings. A transmission came through. Unidentified craft. "You are entering the protected orbit of Sol's Air. State your name and lineage." Rhea hesitated. "This is Commander Rhea Corran, United Earth Command." The Resolute. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath over comms. Repeat. Identification she did. Slowly, clearly. The line went dead. For a heartbeat there was only static. Then a voice, trembling, reverent, but replied, "Commander, we've been waiting." The fleet parted before her, ships gliding aside like sentinels bowing before their queen. The planet below shimmered. Blue oceans. Green lands, silver towers reaching skyward. Her eyes widened. "It's Earth," she whispered. "We made it back." But it wasn't the Earth she remembered. This one was older, wiser. A world reborn from ashes, its cities carved with history, its people carrying the legacy of those who once walked through fire. She descended through the clouds, landing on a platform surrounded by banners, each one bearing her ship's insignia. Soldiers stood in silence, heads bowed. As the hatch opened, light poured in. A figure approached, tall, calm, eyes filled with wonder. "You're real," he said softly. "The commander of the First Light." Rhea stepped down, her boots touching soil for the first time in 7,000 years. "And you're—" "We are your descendants," the man said. "We are what you left behind." Behind him a monument.